my heart, Holy Spirit, message of love to encourage me, lifting my heart from despair, how you love me and care for me, Lord, just speak to my heart, speak to my heart, Holy Spirit, give me the words that will bring to life, words on the wings of the morning, the dark clouds will fade away if you speak to my heart, speak to my heart, Holy Spirit, message of love to encourage me, lifting my heart from despair, how you love me and care for me, Lord, just speak to my heart, speak to my heart, speak to my heart, speak to my heart, speak to my heart. Speak to my heart, Lord. Give me your holy word. If I can't hear from you, then I'll know what to do. I won't go alone. I'll never go on my own. Just let your spirit guide and let your word abide. Speak to my heart, Lord. Give me your holy word. If I can't hear from you, then I'll know what to do. I won't go alone. I'll never go on my own. Just let your spirit guide and let your word abide. Speak to my heart, Lord. Give me your holy word. If I can't hear from you, then I'll know what to do. I won't go alone. I'll never go on my own. Just let your spirit guide and let your word abide. Speak to my heart, Lord. Give me your holy word. If I can't hear from you, then I'll know what to do. I won't go alone. I'll never go on my own. Just let your spirit guide and let your word abide. Speak to my heart, Lord. Give me your holy word. If I can't hear from you, then I'll know what to do. I won't go alone. I'll never go on my own. Just let your spirit guide and let your word abide. Speak to my heart, Lord. Give me your holy word. If I can't hear from you, then I'll know what to do. I won't go alone.
Hi, family. Welcome back to another week here with me at Mama's Knee. I am your host, Minister Iris Winters. Got a question for you. If I ask you, what stage is your faith? Would you have little faith, great faith, or perfect faith? Something to think about. Come back and we'll chit chat about it. Hi, family. Welcome back. I want to thank you very much for tuning in here with me on Mama's Knee. I appreciate you so much. I love you guys. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and meet us here every Saturday at 4. All right, family, let's get into it. So what level of faith are you at? Some may say it's small, medium faith, or I got great faith. How about little faith, great faith, and perfect faith? See, we like to not use that word perfect unless we're saying like his perfect will, but there are stages of faith. Throughout the Gospels, Jesus commended those who believed in him. At one point, his disciples asked him to increase their faith. That goes back to you have not because you ask not. If you need and you want wisdom and knowledge and you seek it, ask God. I always ask God to increase my faith because sometimes I do feel like it's the size of a mustard seed. Due to our limited knowledge of the Lord and his word, we will begin our life with Christ with little faith. Throughout the Christian life, we will face times when our faith is weak, but as we grow, the struggles will diminish and our trust in the Lord will increase. Think of a time where you activated your faith. You knew without a shadow of a doubt that, all right, God's going to pull through. It's going to happen, and it happened. Now, on the other side, think about when you knew you weren't believing, when you were double-minded and you were praying and you were fasting, but you weren't believing. To me, that's like no faith. That's like hope. Hope versus faith, because you hoping things work out. There are 3 stages of faith. Abraham is an example of a man whose faith grew as he walked with God. As we examine his life, we'll see how he moved from one stage of faith to the next over the years. Romans 4:20 summarizes Abraham's experience with respect to the promise of God. He did not waver in unbelief, but grew strong in faith, giving glory all to God. So there's stage 1, and that's that little faith, where I don't even know, it might be like a grain of salt. It may not even be the mustard seed faith. This stage is characterized by restlessness because we're influenced by what is felt, seen, or heard. As a result, we're burdened with doubt. Our faith is so small because the focus is not on the Lord and what he can do, but it's focused on what we're going through at that time. But it also reiterates your lack of understanding of how God and his word works. If we weren't growing in our knowledge of the Lord and not meditating on his word, then we don't understand how he works. We don't understand timing, his timing. We don't understand, we say, my faith is really small, and sometimes your faith is really huge, but if you don't read the word and meditate on it and see where things are going and how people showed great faith and little faith, like when Jesus said to Peter, when he told him to walk on the water, as soon as he took his eyes off of God, he said, oh, ye of little faith. How about when they asked God, why can't we cast out demons? About faith. The illustration of little faith, Matthew 8:23-37. When a violent storm developed and Jesus and his disciples were in the boat, the disciples were afraid and they cried out. Why are you afraid? God said. Jesus said, wouldn't you be afraid? I think that one is hard. But then I'm talking about us in our today flesh. Now, if I'm on the boat with Jesus, I'm gonna be chilling. So you think, but that fear of being, tossed and turned, being capsized, that. So the obstacles to their face were that they saw a fragile storm. And I say fragile because in God's eyes, it was nothing. But to them, it was a big thing. They felt fear, they felt anxiety, and what would happen, and the end result to what would be happening would be death for them. But they failed to focus on Jesus and focus on the storm. Little faith. Matthew 6:25-30, when Jesus addressed a crowd of people who were anxious about the basic needs, he told them God would provide for them and address them with yo thee of little faith. Their faith was small because they were worried about having enough rather than God being enough. That he provides for his children. Little faith. Mark 9:19-24 says, the father of a demon-possessed boy came to Jesus for help, saying, if you can do anything, take pity on us and help. His faith was weak because he said, if you can do anything. But Jesus told him all things are possible for the one who believes. The father immediately cried out, I do believe, I do believe. But our gaze often shifts away from God onto the situation. O ye of little faith. There are certain situations in our lives where we have great faith with certain things and small faith with other things. For me, I have great faith. I'm talking about, it's perfect faith when it comes to my health. I have seen God do miraculous things. I have been healed, set free, and delivered from so many things. So I'm not shaken or stirred in that area. But there are times where, and I feel funny saying this now because I am growing, where if there was a financial situation that looked like it was going to, put me in a bad place financially, I would worry. And I have to say, as I'm saying this to you, God is so good because I am not today in that place. So I have to say that as I grew over time, that little faith went to great faith. And I am trusting and believing that that great faith will be perfect faith. Here's an illustration of great faith. Matthew 8:5-10. A centurion came to Jesus asking him to heal his paralyzed servant. He said, just say the word and my servant will be healed. And Jesus responded, truly I say to you, I have not found such great faith with anyone in Israel. What made the centurion's faith great was his confidence in the authority of Christ. Wow, that's a powerful statement. I have not found such great faith with anyone in Israel. That's powerful and that's sad. Let God not say that about us. Matthew 9:20-22. On another occasion, a woman suffering from a hemorrhage, we all know this story, believed that she could be healed by just touching the hem of his garment. When she went out she would touch him, he turned around and said, who touched me? And he said, take courage, you are healed. That's powerful. Like if you saw Jesus coming through the crowd, you know how people like to touch people, and you knew if I could just touch his hem of his garment, it don't even gotta be his arm, it just could be his hem. It could look anything. To me, that's almost like perfect faith, but I'm like, wow. If we just had that faith, that measure of faith. Then there's the perfect faith. In James 2:21 in James 2:21 through 22, we see that Abraham as an example of perfect faith. The word perfected in this message means completed. It is faith that has been tested and found strong. And how many times has your faith been tested? I know you've won many victories. I know God has won them. And you believed. And that's the thing. Believing, believing, believing. When the Lord called Abraham to sacrifice his son, Isaac, by faith, he took him up. He was like, y'all stay here. He laid him down. I'm thinking, look, when I was reading that as a child, I was thinking, oh my goodness. That is, to me, that is the epitome of perfect faith. When, in spite of everything else, he didn't waver. He didn't think, oh Lord, is he going to provide a ram in the bush, or like what's going to happen? He didn't. I cannot say that thing that many of us would have done. So the 3 stages of faith. Stage 1, when the Lord promises Abraham and that he have a son through Sarah, his doubt made him laugh and ask, would you give me a man to this age and her? Stage 1 faith, little. Stage 2, in Genesis 18:1 through 15, the Lord said Sarah would give birth within a year. She too laughed and doubted God, but when she conceived, her faith in Abraham soared as they saw the Lord fulfill his promise. And that happens. Let's not say, oh, I got to wait, my faith increases whether he does it or not. No, there's things that God will do for you, and it does. It gives you faith to believe the impossible. It does. Stage 3. By the time God told Abraham to offer Isaac as a sacrifice, his faith had become so strong that he obeyed him immediately, even though the Lord had said that Isaac would be the heir to the promise, to all the promises. Abraham was so confident in God's faithfulness that he believed the Lord with all his heart. Abraham even told his servants that he and Isaac would be back. I like that. That they both would return. But I said that you're going to sacrifice your son, but you believe that. That is perfect faith. What stage of faith are you in? What are you believing God for? What are you asking him for? Believing. What are you waiting for? Because faith is also, part of that is also waiting. Because sometimes we'll think that God's not going to come through because it didn't come through in our timing. What level of faith are you at? And is it different for different situations? Can I tell you, it should be the same all across the board. All across the board, we should have perfect faith. I hope that you will grow to that perfect faith. I think sometimes with certain instances in our lives, it can happen instantaneously. I think sometimes we are the bearer of our faith growing. I don't know. Something to think about and ponder, huh? Yeah. Let me know in the comments. Tell me a time where you exercised great faith, perfect faith, little faith, or no faith, where you just, it's not gonna happen. Wasn't because we put our trust in man and in our own abilities, not by my might, but by his might. I appreciate you, family. Thank you for spending this time here with me on Mama's Knee. Also, please help me thank our sponsors, Kingdom Culture Designs, LLC. For all the content that you see here, they help produce this. So we want to thank them very much. Until next week, I love you. May God bless you. Bye-bye.
Speak to my heart, Lord. Give me your holy word. If I can't hear from you, then I'll know what to do. I won't go alone. I'll never go on my own. Just let your spirit guide and let your word